All right, today we're putting on our detective hats. We're going to investigate one of the biggest literary mysteries out there. Where in the world did India's epic poems actually come from? You know the names, right? The Ramayana, the Mahabharata. For thousands of years, these aren't just stories. They've shaped culture, philosophy, and identity for literally billions of people. I mean, we're talking about these grand, sweeping tales of divine kings, unbelievable battles, and some really deep moral questions. And that gets us to the big question, the real heart of our mystery today. Are these just incredible myths, totally floating outside of time and space? Or, and this is the exciting part, are they anchored in a real historical period? Are they memories of a world that actually existed? Well, today we're going to follow the clues and see if we can find out. Okay, so our first clue, and it's a weird one. It's not an object or a weapon, it's a map. It seems like the entire world of these characters, the very ground they walked on, shifted.
See, the earliest Indian civilization we know of was centered way up in the northwest, around the Indus-Saraswati region. But the epics, they're not set there. Nope, they are set squarely in the Gangetic Plains. You know, home to all those famous cities like Hastinapura and Ayodhya. So right away, that geographic jump tells us something huge. We're looking for a specific time when the center of gravity for Indian society made this massive, decisive shift to the east.
And you've got to understand this new world was totally different. We're talking dense, thick forests, powerful rivers that were there year-round, and this really rich but super heavy soil, perfect for growing rice. But here's the thing. You couldn't just walk in and start farming. Mastering an environment like that, it would have required brand new tools, totally new ways of life. And that brings us right to our next clue. So, clue number 2, and this one is an absolute game changer. It is, without a doubt, the single most important factor that made the world we read about in the epics even possible. We are talking about the arrival of iron. So you might be asking, how did a metal change everything? Well, think about it. Step 1, you've got strong iron axes. Now you can finally clear those incredibly dense forests. Step 2, you've got iron plows that can actually break up that heavy, tough soil. Suddenly, farming just explodes. That leads to step 3, a huge surplus of food. And when you have extra food, well then, you can support larger, more permanent kingdoms, which are exactly the kind of societies we see in the epics. See how it all connects? And here's the really cool part. We can actually date this revolution with amazing precision. Archaeologists, digging around in the upper Ganga region, have confirmed it. Iron tools and weapons start showing up right around 1200 BCE. Boom. That gives us a really solid, concrete time frame for our investigation. So let's be super clear about this. The world of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, with its huge armies, its fortified cities, its sprawling agricultural kingdoms, it's just impossible without iron. It was the literal technological bedrock of their entire world. No iron, no epics. It's that simple. Okay, on to our final clue. And this one isn't about geography or technology, it's political. We need to find a moment in time when the very idea of what power is and how society is organized just completely gets turned on its head. So, the old way of doing things was organized around what was called the jana. Think of it like a mobile tribe. Loyalty was to a person, a chief, who was probably chosen because he was a great warrior or leader. But the epics, they describe a totally different world, a world of janapadas. These are territorial kingdoms with fixed borders, permanent cities, and, this is key, kings who inherited the throne from their fathers. Power wasn't about who you were anymore, it was about the land you control. And this new political system, oh man, it's the engine for all the epic drama. Think about it. When the throne is passed down from father to son, suddenly dynastic politics is everything. This one change directly creates the exact conditions for all the conflicts that drive these stories, right? You get bitter fights over who's the rightful heir, you get intense sibling rivalries, you get all-out wars over who inherits the kingdom. Sound familiar? It should. All right, let's recap. We've gathered our clues, we have a new geography, the Gangetic Plains, we have a new revolutionary technology, iron, and we have a new political system, the territorial hereditary kingdom. It is time to put all the pieces together and finally solve this thing. And this chart, this is our aha moment. Just look at it. The early Vedic period? Nope. It's missing the geography, the iron, and the kingdoms. What about later, post-Vedic times? Well, they have stuff the epics never talk about, like widespread coinage or a big formal bureaucracy. So that doesn't fit either. But that period in the middle, the later Vedic period, it's a perfect match. It's got the iron, it's got the territorial kingdoms, it's got the right geography, and it doesn't have any of that later stuff that would feel out of place. It just fits. So, there you have it. Our investigation points to a very specific window in time, the later Vedic period, running from roughly 1200 to 900 BCE. This was the historical stage. This is where the epic world was born.
Okay, so what? What does all this mean? Does finding a real historical home for the epics somehow make them smaller? I'd argue it does the exact opposite. It actually makes them even more profound. You see, by placing these stories in the latter Vedic period, they suddenly click into place. They make perfect historical sense. All those conflicts, the politics, the way people lived, they stop being these weird, random anomalies. Instead, they become the logical, understandable results of a real period of massive, dramatic change in Indian history.
And what that really means is we can start to see the Ramayana and the Mahabharata as something more than just great literature. We can see them as a kind of powerful cultural memory. These are the stories a society told itself to try and make sense of a world that was being completely turned upside down by new tech, new politics, and new frontiers. And that's the thought I really want to leave you with today. If the world that created these epics was a real place in a real time, facing real-world challenges, how does that change the way we understand the timeless struggles of the heroes and the villains who lived inside that world? Makes you think, doesn't it?